Hello, hello. Welcome to the fourth and final solo show, that went fast, of this month's series on motherhood, pregnancy, and mental health. Today, I'm going to be sharing what comes to mind following my conversation with Danielle Smith from the previous episode. So if you haven't heard it yet, go back and check it out. I think what really sticks out to me as the main point of the conversation is the impact of the pandemic on moms. I certainly felt the impact. And, Danielle and I both had babies in 2020, so we understand the unique struggle of that year as moms. My second child, my son, was born at the end of February 2020. So as I mentioned in the episode, I did not have to wear a mask and I was allowed visitors. We were not in, lockdown mode yet. But as you know, shortly after we got home from the hospital, everything changed. I had a week home with my husband, and then I had about a week or so home with him at work as usual. I was by myself with the kids, and then shortly after that, he stopped going to the office, and you know the rest. We were quarantined. I would never, ever say that the COVID-19 pandemic was a good thing. It wasn't. But within the small little bubble of my world, it resulted in circumstances that initially benefited me. For starters, my husband was home. Yes, he was working, but he didn't go to the office, so he could be giving the baby a bottle while on a Zoom call, or he could just be a physical presence in the house while the baby napped and I took our daughter outside or for a walk or just brought her upstairs to have a bath, anything. He was around for bedtime, bath time, and he got to spend a lot more time with us and our newborn than he would have otherwise. And of course, for me, that just meant I had more help than I would have otherwise. I also did not have entertaining visitors. I know this is a hot topic. Rena talks about it often, but visitors in the first few weeks of bringing a baby home can be very challenging. Think about it. You might be breastfeeding, you're not sleeping, maybe you're not even regularly showering, your house is messy, you're wearing the big hospital diapers, or you're recovering from a C-section surgery. None of that makes for comfortable entertaining. And so I was relieved to be able to heal my body and also go through the first few weeks of transitioning from 1 to 2 kids with privacy. And these were all seen as benefits to me, particularly before I realized how long quarantine would go on. So I want to make that clear. I kind of thought, this is horrible, this is a mess, but I'll have a couple of weeks to adjust and heal, and then we'll go back to normal, and then everyone can come see us, and we'll go to the park, and we'll go to the library, and maybe even sign them up for daycare and all the things. And as we know, that did not happen. Instead, we were isolated. We didn't have support, resources, or social interaction. I mean, I look back on it now, and my jaw drops. It's unbelievable what mothers did during the pandemic. Truly, we wore every hat every day, all day. And in writing this episode, and now even in saying it again, it's hard to talk about because I can very easily go right back there emotionally. By August of 2020, my family, along with the rest of the world, was about 5 months into the quarantine. And at that point, I have what I describe as static radio head. Like, my head felt like the sound of static radio every day. Sometimes I'd wake up with it like that, and sometimes it would hit by noon, but no matter what, it always hit by 5 p.m. I had developed a nightly ritual of crashing face down into my bed after I put my kids to sleep, and I'd lie there for however long I needed to, reviewing the day, dreading the next, feeling numb, and whatever the next level word for exhausted is. There were days where I just didn't get back up. I didn't care to eat dinner. I didn't care to change my clothes. It was just like, nope, mama out. I would sometimes take a shower. I would try to wash the day away. Sometimes it worked better than others, but I tried. I really tried. But this sort of ritual of crashing down and maybe showering or not was truly the way that I marked the end of every long, mentally challenging, repetitive, isolated, and draining day of entertaining, caretaking, cooking, housekeeping, feeding, and wiping. I literally felt depleted of everything I needed to exist as a human being. And just to reiterate, there were no babysitters, there were no daycares, there were no family members, libraries, play centers. And honestly, if you recall, even for a time, playgrounds were off limits. So after months of this crash down ritual of having trouble enjoying just about anything, I became irritable and frustrated and short. And I eventually really just realized that static radio feeling was depression. And it was depression in a way I'd never experienced before. It was on a regular, consistent basis. And I needed help. And I already had, I was working with my therapist at that point twice a week, but we found a psychiatrist and I got on meds. You guys probably know the story. I've told it a bunch. But from that point on, I was able to function a lot better. But actually thriving and enjoying life was a whole other thing. I didn't even mention the constant decision fatigue around testing, who can see who can see the kids, who can see the babies, vaccines. I remember my son, he had a fever. He was under 3 months old. He had a fever and we were terrified. Like, does he have this virus that we know very little about? And he had to go to the ER and it was a whole thing and he ended up being okay. But a lot of stress, a lot of stress. And, I sometimes wonder if I would have needed the meds and all the twice a week therapy if the pandemic hadn't happened. And I wonder that because when I left the hospital and when I was on my own for that week or so with my kids, I felt good. I felt tired, but good. I felt like, whoa, look at me. I'm doing this. It's hard, but I am doing it. I was so inspired by how much more I knew going into my second postpartum period. I had so much more confidence in what I was doing, and my second baby slept and ate a lot better than my first. And I just thought, yes, I'm going to be good. This is going to be great. And I guess it really doesn't matter what would have happened or wouldn't have happened with the pandemic because it did happen. And, without it all happening, I probably wouldn't have the show and I probably wouldn't have done all of the personal growth work that I've done up until this point. But there are certainly aspects of that time period that I really could have gone my whole life without ever feeling. They weren't fun. They were, that's like a total understatement. They were horrible. It was a horrible feeling a lot of the time. And the pandemic, it changed me. And I think because the pandemic is so closely connected to my motherhood journey, I'm sometimes unsure of actually which one has had a greater impact. Just as an example, I definitely run more anxious now, and I can attribute that to the pandemic and or motherhood. I can pretty easily slip into periods of burnout, which, again, sure, it could be motherhood, it could be pandemic, it could be both. I'm definitely less structured post-quarantine when it comes to maintaining our house, meal prepping, planning activities for the kids, because after a while in that lockdown, all I did, was maintain the house, make meals at home, and come up with at-home activities. So I got to a point where I was just like, I'm done with this. I'm done. And, I obviously do those things, but I don't do them with the same excitement, the same pleasure or vigor. And I think it's because I just did it so much for such a long period of time, over and over and over again without break, that as soon as I kind of feel that creeping in, that repetition, it's like, oh gosh, no, let's not go back here. Let's not go back here. And I'm not sure that I'm fully recovered from 2020, and let's be real, 2021. I'm a lot better off. I'm a lot better off than I was even 6 months or a year ago. But I just want you to know that if you're a pandemic mommy and you're wondering how it seems that everyone is just fine and moving on and going about life and totally healed and happy and recovered, we're not. We're not. I'm not. And if I'm not, that means more of us aren't. It doesn't mean we're not functioning and we're not enjoying our lives and we're not able to do the things that all of us moms do. But there are moments in time, there are days, there are sometimes even weeks that feel a little too close to that quarantine. I've had weeks where the kids are both sick and we're home and it's like, I've been here before, I don't want to go back. And it was a heck of a time and it's not to be underestimated. So if you have not sought out any help for coping or dealing, it's not too late. It's not, it's not that far away, really, in the grand scheme of things. This was not that far away, especially if you became a mom for the first time or, became a second mom or whatever the case may be. It doesn't matter. If you still feel like you're recovering or processing, you can get help. There are coaches, there are therapists that are available and want to work with you. And lastly, I think this brings me to Danielle's work with first responder spouses. This is so, so important, I think, even still today. I know so many of us have taken time, and I'll do it again here, to, say thank you to all of the first responders for their work during the pandemic. And I now also want to say a really, really special thank you to the wives and husbands of the first responders who kept those ships at home afloat. You're all incredible human beings, and there is no way that we, the big societal we, could ever thank you enough. I see you. I am in awe of you. And yeah, if you're one of those partners and you're feeling heard and validated right now, go check out Danielle's website. Go check out her Instagram. Sign up to join us live and chat with her. Danielle will be part of the live Zoom on July 31st. We're going to be talking with her about this exact topic. We're going to be talking about postpartum mental health. We're going to be talking about fertility. If you're in like I said, the first responder community and you're looking for support, go ahead over to sasssays.com/panel and sign up to join us live on July 31st at 1 p.m. Let's talk about this some more, all right? I will see you there, hopefully. If you're not able to make the live call, but you want a recording, you still got to go to sasssays.com/panel and sign up so that I know to email it to you. If you have a question for one of the experts that you'd rather ask anonymously, you can submit it at sign up. And or if you have a question for the experts or something you want to share, but you're not able to make the live, submit it to me ahead of time and I'll make sure to share it live. All right, guys, I will see you next week and hopefully at that live panel. Bye.